Hello, artists. Welcome back to another Art Life Conversations podcast. I'm super excited to be here with you today and to be talking about a topic that, is really exciting. And the topic is on habits and why habits do not work, or why trying to form habits often does not work. So before we dive into that, we have a shameless plug from our sponsor. And guess who our sponsor is? Kelly Folsom, me. So before we dive in, I just want to remind all of you, if you're not aware or have not gotten the book yet, 30 Ways to Master Still Life Painting, please be sure and go and pick that up at artlifewithkelly.com or on Amazon. The hard copy is now available, and it's a gorgeous, gorgeous book, as well as hugely informative. And everybody who's bought it has been telling me how much they love it. So make sure you check that out. Also, just so you know, if you're interested in learning more with me, studying more with me on a regular basis, I am offering an amazing 5-day challenge starting March 28th. So you can go over to artlifewithkelly.com, get signed up for that challenge. You will get your materials list immediately upon signing up. And it's great for anyone who just wants to learn more about painting, or if you just want to reignite that creative fire that's inside your heart and soul, my friends. And it will do that for you as well. So I'm looking forward to meeting all of you in person in that 5-day challenge. Okay, so let's dive into talking about habits. I don't know about you guys, but there's been so many times in my life when I've decided I need to make some new habits. I need to form some new habits. And by gosh, tomorrow I'm going to start doing yoga every day, or I'm going to start meditating every day. Or I'm going to start finally, posting to social media every day or painting every day. And damn it, Jim, I'm going to stick with it this time, and it is going to be a new habit. Anyone ever been there? Lord knows I have. And then have you ever, got started and you've got started on a good foot, and maybe you've got a few days in, and then you fall off the wagon, right? And then it's kind of like, you go through this thing of like, oh gosh, I knew I wasn't going to be able to do that, or maybe beating yourself up, or maybe you keep then trying, but you still have not formed that new habit. Maybe it's 6 months later, a year later, 5 years later, and you're still every year going, I need to form that new habit. I need to form that new habit. Yet it never seems to work. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? Maybe a few people are able to do that. I don't know. I'm not that person, okay? So, and you might be thinking, but Kelly, what are you talking about? Because you formed all these new habits, right? That have changed your life. You went from not being an artist to being an artist, to, painting regularly, to building your online art business. And you are right. But I did not do it by trying to set habits, by trying to kind of willpower myself into habits, okay? So I want to share with you, what tends to work better. And that is basically creating, for me, what really helped was to create a big goal. Okay, because a really big goal, really going after a big, challenging, scary goal, what happened is actually not forced me, but it empowered me to rewrite my story. It empowered me and enabled me to basically recreate my self-image. So, and that is, my friends, the only thing that is really going to stick, that's really going to enable you to make permanent, long-lasting change. So let me kind of dig into this a little bit more so that you understand. The thing of it is like, we are basically who we are right now, who you are right now in this moment, right, is basically the culmination of just a long history of downloads, right? A long history of downloads into our brain, into our nervous system, from the time that we were born, essentially. And many of us, don't have so good downloads, right? Like many of us don't have really great self images or I know I didn't start off with that. Okay. So I really had to recreate my own self image. I had to rewrite my own story in order to do what I'm doing today, to be able to show up and to serve artists in a more powerful way, to be able to have the courage, to get on here and to talk to you like this and to be honest and to be open and to be vulnerable, right? So I was not born I would say I do believe we all are born this way, okay? With this just, amazing heart, and everything's infinite and all possibilities, and we're not born with fear, I don't believe, but then we get programmed, that gets programmed into us along with a number of other things that can get programmed into us, right? Because we're just like little sponges, especially as children. We're just like little sponges, and we're just taking in the world around us and all the messages that we are receiving, on a day-to-day basis. And I'm not even talking just verbal messages. I'm talking also visual messages, the home that you grew up in, the house you grew up in, the kind of relationship you witnessed your parents having, the kind of relationships that you had at school, the ostracism that you received, the bullying, that you went through, right? So this podcast, this topic could go on forever, and it's really an emotional one for me. So I'm going to try to keep it together and not start crying, but it really, is a deep, deep thing for me, a deep experience. So I think you get the point. We have this collection of experiences, of thoughts, of traumatizing events, perhaps, along with positive ones. But the thing of it is like the human brain is kind of hardwired for negative experiences. We're kind of hardwired to be on the lookout for negativity, right? So all of those negative experiences tend to impact us in a much, much, much greater way. And it kind of becomes this thing where, especially the more negative it was, it becomes this thing where we go, oh, stay away from that, avoid that, don't ever let that happen again, right? So this is basically what we're up against, okay? Then also, not only is our brain hardwired for negativity, but it's also really wired for things to stay the same, right? Like our brain wants everything to stay the same, our mind, our subconscious, just us as human beings, we really don't want to change. We really don't like to change, okay? We think we want to change, especially whenever we're freaking miserable, but we always run into the fact that change is hard, that change is difficult, and then we feel like we can't ever change, or maybe we can't ever do it, in those moments. But, we are really kind of biologically wired to stay safe and to stay in our comfort zones, right? So we kind of just want to keep on doing the same things that we're doing already. And that is really why we run into so much trouble, trying to form new habits. So obviously this is really important when you are wanting to become an artist, let's say, and you have to put in the brush mileage and you have to practice day in and day out. And you also have to withstand, so much failure, so many failed attempts. And then once you actually get good enough attempts, right, now you have to have the courage to put your artwork out there, right, into the world. And so then that brings up a whole other slew of things, like you're afraid of rejection, or one time you did show one of your drawings as a kid and somebody criticized it, or somebody made fun of you because you were always drawing all the time, or maybe it was something totally not art related at all. But so then we have to do that, right? So you can see like what we are up against, right? this is what we're up against. And I do believe that power, we can be empowered by having this awareness. Even though I know right now it sounds like, oh my God, well, how the hell do we ever do anything? Like this is depressing. And I don't think that it's depressing, but I do think the awareness of how we are wired, what it is, really being aware of what it is that we are really up against without falling victim to it, right? Without going, oh, well, that's just me, and my mom said this about me, and that's the way I'll always be, or my fifth grade teacher, labeled me, a procrastinator, or, whatever, and that's how I'll always be. So, so these are the things that we are up against. And I think there is power in recognizing that we also, as human beings, we're the only creatures that can do this. We also have the power and the ability to reprogram ourselves, rewire ourselves, and rewrite our story. Okay, so I want you all to go and look up 3909 South Polk Street in Amarillo, Texas on Google Maps. Go to the street view, and you're going to see the kind of house that I grew up in. Okay, you're going to see that the little girl who grew up in this house, she should not be here doing this right now. She should not be teaching hundreds of artists online, coaching them, helping them expand, helping them to reach their goals and become a bigger, better version of themselves. The little girl that grew up in that house should not be doing any of that. The little girl that grew up in that house did not know that financial abundance was available to her. Okay, so you can clearly see by looking at that image, she didn't even know that beauty was important. She didn't even know that abundance existed, So I invite you to go and look that up, because that's how I grew up, and that was the programming, that I received, along with, numerous other negative experiences and traumas, that I went through as a kid, that many of us go through, that so many of us go through. So I want to share with you today, in my opinion, from my experience, the only thing that has worked for me in terms of, rewriting that story, forming new habits, right? Which is really, for me, it's really just a byproduct. Forming new habits is really just a byproduct of rewriting our story or recreating our self-image, however you want to word that, whatever makes more sense to you. New habits are really just a byproduct of that journey, right? It's just a natural evolution in that journey. So the only thing that has ever really worked for me is committing to a big, big goal. And notice I said the word commit because it's also easy to say, like, I'm going to set this goal, but as soon as I hit resistance, or as soon as I hit obstacles, as soon as I hit problems, then I'm going to, now I'm not committed to the goal anymore. So the only thing that's really ever worked for me is finding a goal that really motivates me in such a great, great way. And I establish this vision around that goal. And I really go so deep into that goal, and I really imagine, what is it going to be like? Who am I? Who do I have to be? Who do I have to become? What is just the next step towards that goal? What's the next thing I need to learn? What's the next thing I need to do? But I really go to the end of achieving that goal. Because again, you can set goals, and I also think setting baby goals, even though I know that sometimes that gets promoted, but I think setting baby goals just isn't inspiring enough. It's not motivating enough. It does not change you enough. It doesn't change your life enough, right? So, of course, for me, the first big goal that I set was just to graduate from art school, to become an artist, And so the way that I committed to that at the time was, I enrolled in art school for 4 years. Now, not everybody can do that. So you may have to find another way to commit to your big goal of becoming an artist, right? But then, so I went to school, I became an artist, graduated from Lime Academy, and then became the task of how do I pay my bills as an artist and live and feed myself and care for myself financially, without having to get a job. Like that was my non-negotiable at the time, was I will never work another job again as long as I live. I will not work another job. That was my non-negotiable. I had, basically like the burn the boats thing. I am not going back to work a job. That is not what I went to art school for. I am 100% determined to make this work some way, some way, shape, or form. I'm going to make it work as an artist, right? And I will say I did not have an exact definition of what that looked like. I did not have an exact vision of what that looked like, right? So I was also very open to, it does not have to work a specific way or a particular way. I just want to be able to be an artist, make a living as an artist, and without having to get a job. So that was my next big goal, right? And so that's really what drove me to do the things I needed to do, to go to the studio every day and paint and create art so that I could try to sell the art, to have the courage to enter exhibitions, and submit my work to galleries at the time. All of that stuff is scary, right? And all of our inner past, traumas and rejections and all that stuff starts to fire, right? Whenever we are doing these scary, scary, scary things. They're really not scary, but because it's our past programming and all of the downloads that we've received throughout our whole life that make it feel like it's scary, right? So, anyways, so that was the next big goal. The first big goal was just becoming an artist, learning the skill set of making art, getting that bachelor's degree, which was a big goal for me and was important to me at the time. Now, not so important. And even once I got the bachelor's degree and all of the instructors were trying to convince me to get a master's degree, that just really wasn't important to me. I didn't want to stay in school forever. I didn't want to go further in debt, to get a master's degree. So you will have to find out like your path, what is it? What goal really speaks to you? What's really important to you? What would like phenomenally change your life? Make your life so juicy, so exciting, just so expansive. Like you feel like you could do anything. You feel like you could conquer anything, right? Like that is the kind of feeling and the kind of energy that you want to have whenever you set a big goal. And yes, it should scare you, right? Like you should feel some fear around it because you've never, and you will, because it's just like the natural process of the body and the mind is to feel fear around stuff that we've never done before. Okay. And that's why I feel like baby steps, and trying to form new habits. I'm going to willpower myself into that. Tomorrow I'm going to get up and do 10 push-ups, Usually people who are able to do that, they're doing actually what I'm explaining here, and that is they actually have created a future vision of themselves with that six-pack and being ripped and whatever else they want. I don't know. I'm not a very physical person. But usually they have created a really big end goal like that for themselves. It could even be like, there's someone of the opposite sex that they want to attract, and so they're working on their body or, whatever the reason may be, right? So they might think that they're just everyday willpowering their way through that. But really what it is for people who have been successful in that is that they have done, what I'm explaining here. They've set a big, hairy, and scary goal for themselves to achieve, right? Okay. So the next time, then I started making a living as an artist, right, out of art school, doing all the things I could think of to do that, and then I hit like a certain level. I hit at the most, I think I'm going to say 50,000 a year. That's gross. That wasn't, that was before taxes. Excuse me. So after I paid, my self-employment taxes, all that kind of stuff, my income was much less than that. But I started noticing that, year after year, I'd hit like my upper limit. I had hit my upper limit on what I could achieve financially doing what I was currently doing. So here I was again in a situation where if I wanted to expand and grow, I was going to have to now do something different, right? Like I couldn't just keep doing the same thing that I had always been doing and expect a different result, right? Like, isn't that actually a quote? Like that's a definition of crazy. And I would say it's a definition of torture. So when you can't accept something, but yet you are unwilling to change it, to do anything to change yourself, to change it, then that is mental torture, because then you're just spinning. You can't accept it the way it is. I couldn't, let's say, for example, if I couldn't accept the fact that I could only make $50,000 a year as an artist, but yet I was unwilling to try anything else, to learn anything new, to attempt anything new, guess what? Now you're in misery, baby. And it reminds me of that serenity. What is that? The serenity prayer about, grant me, oh gosh, I can't remember it, but you guys know what I'm talking about. It reminds me of that. And I see this all the time. I see this all the time with friends, family, artists, in myself. I've seen it, over the years. Again, like I have been working on this for the last, since 2007, right? So for like the last 14 years, I have been working on this. So, and what I see, prior to me starting on this journey of setting big goals and big visions for myself, what I was doing and what I see so many other people doing is like basically they get miserable because they say like, I want everything to change, but I don't want to change. I don't want to change anything about me and about my life. And yes, that is miserable, to be in that place of really wanting things to change, but not being willing to do anything to change it. And I really do think that the key and the secret is getting to a place where you can create a bigger future vision for yourself, a new self-image, let's say a new vision, a new big goal, and really committing to that to get out of that stuck place where you feel like you desperately want things to change, but you feel powerless to change any of it, right? And that is not true, my friends. You are 100% all powerful to change it for yourselves, okay? It's just a matter of making the choice, making that commitment to that big goal. And this is really, for me, the honest truth is like the bigger the goal, the better, So when I had hit that upper limit ceiling of, let's say, $50,000 a year, and I was really starting to feel like, gosh, why can't I grow anymore? Like I'm working hard, I'm doing all the things I've always done before, but I've hit this ceiling. And then my income actually started to regress. So it was like the next year my income actually went down. And I was like, no, because I realized like $50,000 a year is not enough. It's not enough for me to pay off $100,000 in student loan debt, buy a house, invest, have a retirement account, take care of myself if anything goes wrong with my body. It just, after taxes, it was not enough for me to be able to do that, and to take care of myself. And frankly, not even that. Like that's just focused on like just getting your basic needs met of feeding yourself, clothing yourself, having a roof over your head, and we're meant for so much more more than that, you know? So for me, like, yes, that was not enough. And so that was kind of the first step for me to face and to accept this is not enough, you know? I want to expand more. I want to have more. I want to be able to travel and go to Italy. You know, I want to be able to know that I'm not going to have to worry when I'm, you know, at retirement age or if I fall into bad health, you know. So that was the first step for me. It was like something has to change, recognizing like something has to change. And I know I have to be the one to change it, right? Like I can't wait for anything outside of me to change it. So the next big goal what I decided to do, and actually it was a decision, but somehow I was searching online and I was trying to find, you know, like, oh man, I need some help. I need some motivation. I need some coaching, something. I need to learn something here. I got to do something here. Like, how can I increase my revenue this year? So I ended up stumbling upon this challenge called the 100-Day Challenge. I think the man's name was Gary Ryan Blair. Anyways, he was like a sports, you know, he was like a sports coach, right? So that's the other thing was like, I was like, I can't believe I'm signing up for this 100-day challenge with like the sports guy. You know? But again, I listened to my intuition and I thought, I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to try this. This feels right. And it really was right. It was the right thing in the right moment. So the whole point of the 100-day challenge was to set a goal, like a huge, big goal for yourself for those 100 days, for you to achieve in those 100 days. And so I set a goal for myself that year. This is 2017. I think it was, no, 2016, I believe it was. 2016. So I decided, you know what? My goal is going to be 25K in 100 days. I want to make 50% of my income in one quarter. So basically, you know, doubling what I could make in half the year in half the time is what my goal was. And I honestly, y'all, I did not even know if that was possible at the time. But I was like, I am all in on it. I'm 100% committed to doing whatever it takes in this program in the 100 days to reach this goal. And here is the beautiful thing, my friends. It happened. Now, I will tell you the end result was like 23,500 something. You know, I just barely missed that 25K by like, you know, $1,000 or $2,000. But to me, it was still like such an astronomical success. And here's how it helped to rewrite my story. Doing that, going through that experience, getting that result, you know, it rewrote my story in a way that it showed me that I'm so much more capable of doing so much more, and that there's so many more possibilities and opportunities out there for me if only I ask, if only I question, if only I try, if only I look for it, right? But daily goals was not gonna cut it. Getting up and saying, well, I'm going to paint in the studio again today, you know, every day. Doing daily goals was not going to cut it. It was the goal. It was having a huge goal and really just going all in on that goal. And then every day, you know, going, okay, what do I need to do next? What can I do to hit that goal? What can I do to hit that goal? You know, so all of the actions I was taking was just in service of trying to hit that goal. And the magic is not necessarily in hitting the goal, okay? That's kind of, I think, where we all get a little bit confused or go, oh, but I'm not an overachiever, and, you know, I'm not into achieving things, and I'm not into money, and I'm not into winning awards, you know, or whatever. That's all past programming stuff, right? That's all messages you receive growing up or from your community, from your current community, your current friend group, your current peer group, your current neighborhood and society, right? Like that's all just messages, okay? But the beauty of it is not in the actual achieving of the goal or the thing or the amount. The beauty of it is that you get to become the highest version of yourself in pursuit of that thing. You get to show yourself how powerful you really are. You get to show yourself how creative you really are, how intelligent you really are, how dedicated and strong and courageous you really can be. Okay, and this is what begins to rewire this organ on top of our neck up here. It begins to train the brain and teach your brain that, if it listens to you, if it does what you tell it to do, it's going to be so happy. It's actually the opposite of what it's afraid is going to happen. It's not going to be hurt. It's not going to be harmed. It's not going to be the end of the world. We're actually going to make ourselves so much happier, so much more fulfilled, so much more of a huge contributor to our peer groups, to our families, to our neighborhoods, to our society, and that's the other thing is like really looking at, if I were able to achieve this goal, who all could I help? Especially if you're a contributor like me, you're somebody that, and most people really do want to make a positive contribution to the world around them, even if they feel like that, not like to the world at large, but most people do want to make a positive contribution, right? In how they're living their life. So that's the other, another piece of that is really piling on all of the goodness, all of the good things, and that will help you override any of that negative past programming of, oh, well, aren't you selfish, or you're just all about the money, aren't you? Or, any of that negative bullshit that might come up in your head, right? So what you want to really look at is like, how much more of a contributor and how much more of service would you be able to be if you were able to achieve this goal, right? Okay, my friends, I am way over time today on this topic. Obviously, it's one that we could just talk about for a lot, or I could anyway. But I really hope that this has been helpful to you, insightful to you, especially if you've been trying to set like baby goals or trying to just form new habits as a way of like making yourself change. I'm just here to tell you like that never worked for me. And so I'm going to encourage you to set a huge goal, figure out what that goal is, figure out the time container for it. If you want to, you can actually still go sign up for that 100-day challenge if you want to. He still runs it. But definitely set a time container for yourself. That's another key piece. Obviously with art school, that was a long, 4-year container, but I was so financially committed, there was no backing out, right? So you have to find ways to make sure that you do stay committed to your goal. And I do recommend, shorter chunks of time, like 100 days I thought was great, or 90 days is also great. Sometimes when we go longer than that, like a year, definitely 4 years, 5 years, we can just lose momentum, towards that goal because it just feels too far away. Okay, my friends, I hope this has been helpful to you. And one final reminder about the 5-day Still Life Painting Challenge, which is coming up March 28th. It's going to be amazing. If you haven't already signed up for that, hop over to Art Life with Kelly, KELI.com. Get signed up for that challenge, get your materials list, get ready to rock and roll and paint and re-spark that creative fire and energy inside your heart and soul, and also get some really good motivational juju as well that week. All right, I'll see you soon. I'm wishing you all happy painting until next time.